Minnesota just became a federal crime scene. On January 2, 2026, the SBA made an announcement. Administrator Kelly Loeffler sent shockwaves through the Treasury. In one day, the government suspended 6,900 borrowers. That is nearly 7,000 people blocked from the system. They were part of a massive $400 million heist. But Minnesota is just the pilot program. While you were working to survive, they paid ghosts. A recent HUD audit exposed a dead souls economy. $77 million in rent paid to deceased tenants. $150 million sent to non-existent social security numbers. Verification is a myth. Identity is for sale. It is a $1.5 trillion fraud crisis, and the collateral damage is the American dream. Today I'm showing you why the ledger is broken and why the 1% are sprinting toward Bitcoin. They are exiting a system they can no longer trust. We were taught that the government is a fortress. We assume the Treasury knows who is paying. We think the IRS and Social Security are connected. This is a grand misconception. Our financial system runs on a trust-based model. Take the Department of Housing and Urban Development. HUD manages a $50 billion rental portfolio. That money is meant for the most vulnerable. But the government doesn't actually manage it. They outsource it to thousands of local agencies. They trust these agencies to verify the tenants. The agencies then trust the landlords, and the landlords trust the paperwork. It's a chain of assumed truth. There is no cryptographic anchor to this system. In a world of manual audits, trust is vulnerability. We believed the ledger was secure. We believed the people running it were honest. But $50 billion is a massive temptation. Honesty is a very expensive variable. The system was designed for a simpler time, a time when identity was hard to fake. But that world ended years ago. As Secretary Scott Turner found out in 2025, the system is now a porous vessel for theft. The entities cashing checks are often just ghosts, and the ghosts are winning. Secretary Scott Turner didn't just find clerical errors. He found a total breakdown of verification. The 2025 financial report is a look at death. It revealed $5.2 billion in questionable payments. $5.2 billion in a single year. That is more than the budget of some countries. The largest part went to unvalidated businesses. These are companies not registered with the government. They don't exist in the federal system. They are corporate ghosts with no physical offices. Yet the Treasury cut them checks for billions. But it gets much weirder. Let's look at the dead tenant racket. HUD paid $77 million for dead tenants. 30,000 deceased people were on the rolls. Landlords collected vouchers for people who weren't alive. The government wasn't checking the death master file. They just assumed the tenants were still breathing. This is the dead souls economy. And it's not just housing. Doge just publicized a staggering anomaly. There are 20 million active social security numbers, all of them belonging to people over 100 years old. Statistically, that is impossible. But in a broken ledger, ghosts are perfect. They don't complain and they never stop collecting. While the government pays the dead, crime feasts. Minnesota is the epicenter of this theft. The "feeding our future" scandal was just the start. Criminals stole $250 million from a child program. They claimed to feed millions of fake children. They bought luxury cars and resorts in Kenya. Now a $9 billion Medicaid abyss has appeared. $9 billion lost in one state. They call it fraud tourism. People travel across states to register as providers. They bill for therapy for children who don't exist. The system has become a clearinghouse for crime. It is a total liquidation of public trust. while billions flow to ghosts, you are struggling. The truth is, the system isn't thin. It is porous and intentionally broken. As the ledger bleeds, your dollar dies. You cannot pay the dead without stealing from the living. While ghosts cash checks, the living are deleted. To see the cost, look at the math of 1960. In 1960, the American dream was a reality. A median home cost $11,900. The median family income was $5,600. The price-to-income ratio was 2.1. A factory worker could buy a home easily. Ownership was the baseline for the middle class. Now look at the crime scene of 2026. The median home price is over $416,000. But incomes have not kept up at all. The national ratio has jumped to 5.0. In the West, it is 7.5. It takes 8 years of life to buy a home. Your grandfather did it with 2. This is a mathematical impossibility for most. The home ownership gap has widened by 44%. When you can't afford a home, families collapse. Marriage rates for young adults have plummeted. We are at the second lowest share in history. This isn't a cultural shift, it's an economic one. You are stuck in the rent trap. Rents have grown twice as fast as your income. High rent prevents you from ever saving. No saving means no home and no future. You are now part of a permanent renter class. This is how the $1.5 trillion in fraud is paid for. The government prints money to cover the waste. This is the hidden tax. Inflation doesn't just make food expensive, it steals the value out of your hard work. It devalues your time to pay for the ghosts. Every ghost check in Minnesota devalues your savings. The ledger is being edited behind your back. A generation has been excluded from the future. You can't hustle your way out of debasement. If the rules favor ghosts, stop playing the game. That is what Wall Street is doing right now. The federal ledger is bleeding out, but the world's biggest capital is moving. In 2026, Bitcoin is no longer a speculative toy. We have entered the institutional era. BlackRock's IBIT has shattered every record. It just crossed $100 billion in assets. It grew 20 times faster than the first gold ETF. This is a strategic migration, not a rally. SEC filings show institutions now own 30%. Pension funds and insurance giants are buying. Why are risk-averse entities going all in? Because they have seen the forensic audits. They know the Treasury is no longer an anchor. A ledger that pays the dead has no premium. Smart money is front-running the 2026 supercycle. They recognize a fundamental truth. Bitcoin is the only ledger that cannot be edited. It is a system of rules without any rulers. The 2026 Genius Act is now formalizing this. The government is building a bridge to Bitcoin, but that bridge only leads one way. Capital is fleeing the ghost economy. BlackRock isn't buying for the tech. They are buying for the mathematical certainty. They know the government doesn't know who is alive. The only safe haven is a ledger that doesn't ask. The 1% have already found the exit ramp. They are front-running the final dollar crash, while you are told to trust the old system. They are swapping paper for digital hard money. They know the ghost checks signify the end. How much longer will you stay on this ship? We are at the edge of a ledger reset. One side pays the dead and excludes you. It is an abyss of $1.5 trillion. The other side is immutable and transparent. In 2026, this is a choice of survival. The dead souls are a final warning sign. The fiscal standard of the past is dying. You can stay on the old, broken ledger. You can hope the people who lost your future fix it. Or you can follow the smart money. You can opt out of the hidden inflation tax. You can move your energy into certainty. In a world of ghosts, trust the math. The American dream isn't dead. It's moving to a different ledger. You don't need permission to join it. The exit is right in front of you. Will you take it? Or will you wait for the next ghost check?